Hello everyone, Hachadino over here, and today we are back to beta. And after a lot of rearranging things, I have managed to get my UI kind of done, let's say. You will see a lot of places that are not filled, and that's because, as you might expect, we have lost a lot of buttons at sublety, but that's not bad by itself. The complexity has also gone quite down, but maybe a lot of people will enjoy it. And if you have played some Mythic Plus or done some dungeons or something like that, sadly I have a lot of ping because I'm from EU, so it can be a little bit annoying with how dance things work and other places. But I'm going to explain now the basic things that you want to know and the, I think, right enchants and other things that you want to have. Of course, as you might expect, the gear that we have is very bare bones, just the tier set and maybe some PvP gear. So the stats are not as clear cut as you would want them. But when you get into the nitty gritty of things, it's not going to be very hard. Now I have two builds that I want to kind of showcase, and we are going to be going with Trickster. Why Trickster? Because right now Deathstalker, it's a little bit annoying, as you might expect, even if it's going to perform almost the same or even better. We don't know because, as you know, there are no simulations or anything. You can just go by kind of feeling. But the problem that Deathstalker has is that it has some times that just don't work, like Corrupt the Blood. And Symbolic Victory, of course, is also not working. And Lingering Darkness is nothing crazy, but that. Of course, Deathstalker is still fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you see these are in red, it's because likely they didn't code for the secret technique thing that was here, because now it's baseline, remember, to work with it. But don't worry, the CDR from disorienting stacks is still bugged, so we should have like around an 18 to 17 second cooldown secret technique right now, but it's not there. But the unseen blades do work with it, and devious distractions is the same thing. It works without any problems. Same with no scruples, also works with the face that you get from secret technique. Now, how is the rotation coming? As you might expect now, as the 20 5, yes, we are in 25. I was thinking because I began doing this on the 24th, but it went to the 25th, 5th. And then this is the kind of talents and rotation that we want. We will be using a storm at least once with premeditation. This talent over here that fills our combo points. Because of Dance Macabre, it hits quite hard. While you are in dance, it's going to hit for quite a bit. And this is the AoE and Cleave build. We have Potent Powder and Shuriken Tornado. And we could be using something like Rotten, goremaw, or Finality, but these talents are very, very weak. Finality, remember, was already kind of weak. It was only like 7% something mastery. Now it's even worse because it's critical damage bonus. But remember, you have to first crit and then you get this bonus. This means that it's multiplied by your critical strike. So for example, myself, I have 22% critical strike. It will be that 7.5 multiplied by 0.2. And that is like less than 1% or 1 point something percent DPS for 2 points. That way we skip this and we get something like, for example, Bait Touched or Deeper Daggers or even Improved Find Weakness. Those are the points that we kind of get instead. Also, Replicating Shadows, remember now it's more Shadow Clones, not the Rupture Spread, so we are always going to talent this. And then Tornado is just making it so our Storms can get that clone. If you haven't checked any info about the beta and how Apex works, I'm going to explain it very, very fast. The first Apex means that something that expends Shadow Techniques to generate combo points, this is going to be important later, has 20% chance per stack, so that means if you spend 5 Shadow Techniques, you are going to have this 100% to create a clone that repeats the attack of 50% of normal damage. It's actually not 50%, it's going to be a little bit more because remember we have extra magic and shadow damage here and there, and also this 20% and also 5% additional chance. This means that instead of 20, it's going to be 25, making it so instead of 5, you will need only 4. Now the second one, all our shadow damage is increased by 10%, and the shadow clones have 10% to trigger shadow techniques effect. This means that if you get a shadow clone, you are going to get 1 shadow technique stack. And then the last one is ancient arts. After you generate compounds, if 5 or more stacks of shadow techniques remains, this means that if you use, for example, a shadow strike and you fill compounds, for example, with premeditation or with a storm, and you have these 5 shadow techniques stacks, the next finishing move will expend the shadow techniques to get up to your maximum. That means if you have 5, it's going to expend 5. If you have 7, it's going to expend 7. And then you will be able to do a finisher twice. It's not like the old Shadowcraft where if you have, for example, 14, you could do it 2 times. No, this time you only do it once. But that makes it so you get a shadow clone of that one because you are spending shadow techniques. And if you're spending at least those 5, you are getting that clone that is going to do 50% of normal damage. To remember one thing that is important right now, it's bugged with secret technique, so it's only doing the physical hit, so you want to avoid getting that proc on that, so you want to use black powder or eviscerate to get that clone proc. And how do we get those clones? Right now we have quite a bit more attack speed than in the War Within, thanks to Swift Slasher. We already had this one, but it's also important. These 1000 cuts, Shadowcraft, making it, even after the nerf from 75 to 40%, it's still very good. And warning signs, making it so we have 25 more attack speed in dance. This makes it so our attack speed goes super high in dance. For example, as you can see right now here, if we had the extra information, we will have big attack speed. And then also remember that with the where it is here, deepening shadows, you get that extra bonus to your duration of shadow dance. Right now it's a little bit bugged. Remember, we have 2 extra seconds of shadow dance that we shouldn't, because now shadow dance is 6 seconds baseline. So even if it's not in the tooltip, we are actually have 12 seconds because of first dance. There's also this talent under construction that we don't know what it will be, but it will likely make it go, instead of first dance, we're going to be using that one. Mainly because first dance is not as strong as it was before. Now it's only 3 seconds, and it's still the remain out of combat for 6 seconds. Now for things that I already explained on the other video, but you want this trinket or any of these 2 to get that extra haste. This haste is going to help us a lot. So you can use bind it somewhere, or you should not macro it with shadowlets. I'm going to explain why. The same reason we did not macro trinkets sometimes it's because you want to use this trinket before shadow dance. Like, you could maybe macro it to shadow dance, but sometimes I found it a little bit buggy if you used it on the same macro. Sometimes it didn't get the haste, so you just have it in standard and you use it before shadow dance. I'm going to use natty click it, and you will see from 10.5 seconds it now goes to 12.6. Also, our secret technique goes to 19-second cooldown, making it so we can use 2 secret techniques in dance with blades. Now, of course, that's going to be one thing that you want to get, those 2 secret techniques with the Lights Company cooldown or whatever it's called. But if you also have something like the Execution Mandate, this proc trinket can be something that I don't really like, because this would make it so you want to actually wait and kind of snipe it, old school. But also you can get your haste level up through a lot of enchants that you can have. Many of these are just utilities, so you get some leech, etc., etc. But do remember that you get your weapon, you can put critical strike, or you can put haste. If you put these haste enchants, you are going to be doing kind of the same with that. And also you have potion or recklessness. If you made it so your haste is the highest one, let me get the audio a little bit down, because it's kind of overwhelming. And with that, you are going to get a ton of haste, and with this extra haste, you are going to have more duration of Shadow Dance. Now, is that better than other stats? We would need to check. But if we are not using that one for critical strike or for haste, we may be using just the normal one that increases our primary stat. Now for Flask, the same thing. You can get the critical strike one or the haste one. As you might expect, I'm not talking that much about mastery, and it's because our mastery level is very low, and it's not as good because we have a lot of things that give us critical strike damage, and Shadow Strike and other things like Dance Macabre, etc., etc., hit super hard and don't scale with mastery. Of course, maybe for dungeons with the potent powder talent, we may be using mastery a little bit more, but I don't think it's going to be a full focus before getting good haste values or critical strike values. So if, for example, I use a haste flask, as you can see now I have 18%, we got 5, almost 4%, and now my Shadow Dance is 11 seconds, and my secret technique is 21 seconds. This makes it, of course, that while we are in the general rotation things, even outside of cooldowns, we're going to have secret technique kind of synced with the Shadow Dance cooldown of 20 seconds. This means that we will be using one secret technique per dance, and that is mainly what we are going to do. Now for the opener and other things, I'm going to go super fast on it, but right now, from what I see, you kind of want to get this Shuriken Storm crit if you are Deathstalker to get the momentum of despair going, but as Trickster, you would use Shadow Strike, Eviscerate, and then go into dance with all of your cooldowns and do damage. I'm going to make a video focusing on that after this one, likely tomorrow. But for now, this is everything that I have to say. Now, it's Sublety back. I do think it's enjoyable enough for most people. Some of us, of course, kind of enjoyed the War Within last patch situation with Trickster, where you have a lot of cool bursts and dances and things. But it may be overwhelming for a lot of people, because if you remember, we had like 6 or 7 cooldowns that we are using combined with trinkets. If you use double trinkets, is one way or the other with the things that you want to use, and maybe you hold dances somewhere, so it can be very overwhelming for new people. Now we have Shadow Dance, Shadow Blades, and Secret Technique. That's it. No Rupture, no Symbols of Death, nothing crazy. When you eviscerate, you get Slice and Dice. You are going to eviscerate always because you have Coup de Grace or Dark Knight, so it's going to be way more enjoyable for the general public, and for us, we still can find joy in the things that are coming. Now, of course, it can be a little bit blunt, but while you are in the nick of things, like when you are in a dungeon or in a boss, you can still enjoy the things about Sublety, like saving some cooldowns a little bit, even if you don't really want to save secret techniques, because remember, those don't stack, so you want to use it as soon as possible. Also, you get those 2 unseen blades, but maybe you want to save Coup de Grace sometimes, or you want to save some dances, because even without the secret technique, if you can crack some mob school with 2 dances instead of 1, maybe you want to do that. Now, I'm not going to bore you anymore. Have a nice day, and I'll see you on the next video. Remember to subscribe, like, everything. I'm going to also get the new shit done eventually. Bye bye.